Grand Rising family, how are you guys this lovely evening? I am doing just fine, doing perfect for a change. Perfect. I'm doing wonderful, guys. I'm a little hyped up tonight, and I wanted to take a few moments to come on. There's something I want to talk about that's been kind of pressing me a little bit. Y'all know how I get things pressed to be pressing me, and I just can't rest until I get on and do a video. Well, that's kind of what's been going on here in the last couple of days, and so I want to get on and enlighten you guys on this topic. So I often in previous videos, there's been times when I would talk about how much our people need to be on code and stay on code and love on one another and protect one another and be brothers and sisters in the way that we should. And so that's kind of at the core of what this story is about. And then on the other end, it's a lesson that many of us that are not paying attention and doing what we should be doing, we put ourselves at risk to learn some of these lessons the hard way. And so I want to share a little story with you guys, and this has a lesson in the end, and that's my point, is to try and get that lesson across to you. And so I'm going to start by sharing that back in my hometown, I used to work at this agency, and myself and I had a good girlfriend. She and I were really good friends. We did a lot of things together. We had beautiful chemistry and friendship. She was just a sweetheart, and I adored her a lot, beautiful person. And so we worked in an office setting, and one day this young man came in and he got a job there. And he actually moved from the East Coast, and he started working in that office too. And so he was training to he had the same my tongue is getting tired. Okay, tongue, come on now. He had the same job title coming into the office that we had. As a matter of fact, there were times when I would get phone calls, and when he was trying to learn the job, and I would help him. And so, but he was somewhat friendly, of African descent, and he came in, and it didn't take me long to kind of pick up on some things about him. And make a long story short, he began to show interest in my friend. And so I paid a lot of attention to him because there was something about him. I couldn't put my finger on it at the time, but there was something about him that was kind of not so right, but I just didn't know immediately what it was. But anyway, he started dating my friend, and then I began to notice that he didn't really hang out with people who looked like us, and looked like him. He seemed to always had an interest of being in the company of, I'm just gonna say, white folk. And it's nothing wrong with you being in a company of other races of people, of course. But I began to see a picture, a pattern, and a picture as time went on. And I noticed how he began to date my friend, and I started noticing how he was kind of beginning to pull her away And I began to realize that there was something peculiar about him. Well, as time went on, I noticed this young man would behave certain ways when it came to our race of people, and how he would. I was hearing the rumors that he would begin to talk down to the people of African descent in the office, and I even had a few experiences with him myself. And when he and my friend got heavy in the dating, I found out he really was not happy with her being friends with me. And so I, she and I had a couple of conversations about it, and I began to notice that, he had a certain persona about him where he kind of looked down on, you know, our people. And it was very, very obvious. And so it got to the point to where I'm gonna go back a little bit. It didn't take very long for him to, next thing we know, he was given a supervisor's position and actually became over some of my coworkers. He was their supervisor. And so then all kinds of things began to happen. One of our good friends and coworker, she had won a suit, a EEOC suit, where she had sued that agency, and they found a way eventually to get her fired under this supervisor, this person. And he, I began to see a pattern of where it appeared that, he was accepted in this certain group outside of us. And so the first thing came to my mind, me with all my intuition working. I've been, intuitive for a long time to a certain level. And so I began to see behavior in him being an outsider to his people. And at the same time, my old girlfriend began to kind of pull away. And there was one time when I needed to beckon him from outside, and he was out smoking a cigarette with his fellow supervisors, all of the other race. And one of his employees, a friend of ours, she was having a breakdown in the office, and I went to call him. And he yelled at me. Yeah, he was out taking a smoke, and he yelled at me, and in front of those supervisors, those friends, those coworkers. And so when he yelled at me, I just closed the door and walked back into my office. Later, he came into my office and he said to me, "Valerie, what did you want?" And I immediately, in my style, in the way that I roll, I said, first of all, before we talk about why I was calling you, I need to make you aware that you will never, ever, ever in life talk to me that way in front of those white people. I don't care how you do everybody else, but you are not going to do me that way. That is unacceptable, and I will never accept it. Don't you ever try that with me again. And I told him point blank, and he didn't. So anyway, after that interaction, a few days later, I understand that his girlfriend had a word with him, and he called me and asked me if I could come to his office. And I asked him what was it pertaining to, because I just didn't play with him around there. I just didn't. And so he was sounding kind of humble. I walked around to his office, and so he offered me an apology for his behavior. And so I had a few more words to say, and I was pleasant, but I let him know, I know how in this racist city, it's very common for a lot of our people to be on these jobs and they accept this kind of abuse and, the way supervisors talk to them. And I said, but I need you to know, I want to make it clear right now, I'm just not one of those, And he said, I understand. I don't know what got into me. And I said, well, I accept your apology, but I do want you to keep in the back of your mind that I'm not one of those. I need you to understand that. And so he kind of accepted that, response, and we went on about our way. And so as time went on, I began to, they became actually engaged. And at the same time, I met my soulmate. It's just ironic that both of us, who were very good friends, we met the people that we married. And we were actually supposed to be in each other's weddings, but the behavior, this person, that type of behavior really began to really escalate. And I just couldn't tolerate how he treated our kind. And so we decided, that we weren't going to be in each other's weddings. And I told her, I can't accept, because of the way he is with me and with people who look like me. I just told her I didn't think it was a good idea because I'm just not a great pretender at all. And so during that time, a few more things took place, that kind of, proved who he was. And I began to see that he really didn't want her to be friends with me anymore. And I didn't hear him say it, but the rumor was that I wasn't prissy white enough or prissy enough. I was too black. Yeah, and so more too ghetto, I guess. I don't know. I'm too real is actually what I know. Part of it anyway. And so it actually drove a wedge between me and my girlfriend, and we decided to kind of go our separate ways. But prior to that division, there was one other altercation where he was participating in some underhanded stuff against some people in the office, including myself. And I did confront him by himself away from everyone else. And he looked at me in the face and he told me, he said, let me tell you something. He said, these people around here might be afraid of you, but I'm not afraid of you. And I asked him, I said, well, what is that about? I said, why would I want anyone to be afraid of me? I said, it's not about you being afraid of me. I said, it's more about you respecting me. I said, and I know what you guys are used to and how you're used to maneuvering with people, in the office, but you're not gonna disrespect me. And I don't care what race you are, because I'm not gonna tolerate it. I'm not afraid of you, and what you do for these people. So we kind of had words, but I stood toe to toe with him. So of course there was no love there, and I could quickly begin to see that he was the kind of person that the white supremacists would use against his own people. There were several conversations, several rumors, wherever there's a lot of smoke, there's usually a fire. So I began to see very clearly who he was and how he was. And he definitely was one of those kind. He had that Stephen from Django mentality. And I definitely don't do well with those kind. I just don't. So it was clearly not going to work out with us. So, my friend and I there were rumors, all kinds of stuff he was saying and doing, and I did kind of warn her a little bit. And of course, that don't work most of the time, because when somebody has their mind up to be with someone, that's normally what they're going to do. Make a long story short, the relationship with she and I was severed, and her mom kind of had, something to say, which was something mutual. You guys have been friends. You guys shouldn't be like that. Clearly, I don't think they really knew who this man was. But he had done several things that indicated, and actually to me, proven that he was one of those kind of people that, felt he was better than his people. and he had that mindset. So we're going to fast track to a few years forward. And my husband and I had married, and I relocated to another state. And I got word that he took on this position in the city, and the city, county, government, some type of, I can't remember exactly which governmental entity, but he had a pretty important position where he was in a position where he could afflict pain and evil wrongdoings, to his own people. He was in one of those kind of positions where he could do that, where had easily access of being able to do harm if he chose to his people. And so I got word that he, was accepted a job. And the first thing came to my mind, the position that he was put in, the first thing came to my mind was, it's a setup. I just knew, I just felt like, knowing who he was, and it appears still is from what I experienced, he was put in this position. And I, just like white supremacy always works this way, when they find people that can do their bidding, they will use them. And so I saw it clearly as a setup. And I just knew that in due time, and I told a few of my friends, I said that, and relatives, I said they put him in that position. And I saw where in public media, where he was doing certain things, and I just knew what was coming. I just felt it, and I was very concerned about my city and the people, the indigenous people in that city. And so I did say to a few of my friends that, I can see this coming. This is his personality. This is who he is, and they know it. And I just believe that he's been put in this position to do, the kinds of things that a lot of us do in those small towns under white supremacist rules and laws. And so we're going to fast forward. We're going to fast forward to today, to this present time. I got a couple of phone calls, and messages via text, and a couple of messages where this person has been arrested, and he's been arrested for embezzling a large amount of money. And I'm going to tell you guys, the very thing that I warned him of, that I kind of left out when I spoke with him last, and we had the altercation at the office before he moved to this job. I told him personally that there was going to become a day where his karma would meet him. I told him, I see what you're doing. I know what you're doing. Now, my friend may not see it. She may not be, I knew she was quite a bit more green than I was, and I would try to tell her, and she wouldn't listen. And she told me, I know you think I'm, green. I don't know, but I'm not, I said, okay. I said, I'm just saying because I love you. But the conversation, last one I had with him, I told him, I see what you're doing. I know why you're here. And I know what plans that they have for you. But I want to tell you something. I told him, you better be careful. I say, because your day will come. Karma will come knocking. And I said, and it may take a while, but it will come. I said, the way you treat your people and look down on your people, and the things that I've been told that you're doing, and the things I see you doing, your day will come. Well, this same individual was just arrested recently and charged with embezzlement, a second degree felony. It was at that level. And when I had at least four people to send me the newspaper. And when I saw his picture, at first I couldn't believe it because what they're accusing him of is something different. The accusations, it's something a little different. Embezzlement is a little different from certain pot of funds, supposedly, allegedly that he's allegedly, embezzle money from a certain pot of funds. But the first thing came to my mind, guys, was the fact that this society, ruled under white supremacy, this draconian system, have always used people who look like me. They will give us positions, give us, pay raises, give us a certain amount of, they give us these trinkets, but in return, they looking for something. They always looking for something. And they expect you to carry it out. If they invest in you, being that they're the ones in control of everything, and they put you in these positions and they give you these